Hello, everyone. Rick Albert here, realtor here in Los Angeles, as well as an investor, and welcome to the Knowledge Broker Show. Today, I have Jake Gomes. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hey there, I'm Jake Gomes. I am an agent down here in Nashville, Tennessee. I am also an investor, and I'm an investor-focused agent. So about 75% of my real estate business is actually working with other real estate investors on the acquisition and sale and management of their properties.
Which includes me. So thank you for your help on that.
You got it.
So,
First of many.
right? Okay, so today the topic is Generation Zs, those that were born between 1997 and 2013. Both Forbes and Insider reported that roughly 30% of 25-year-olds bought in 2022, which was actually higher than millennials who bought at that same age. So we're going to talk about today, and I want to get your opinion on like, why did that happen, and do we think that's going to continue on? So Jake, why don't you kind of give me your thoughts initially?
Yeah, so I'm not surprised by that. Generation Z has way more access to information than the millennials had. I mean, our really first high level use of the internet was Facebook and that kind of thing. But Gen Z, they've grown up with the internet and they understand how quickly they can have access to information. And they grew up more in an era where the internet has been used for education. I mean, what's the number one education platform in the entire world? Probably YouTube,
Yeah,
right? So
it is for me.
I'm sorry.
It is for me.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
Same. So I think that, I'm 31. When I was that age, I didn't really know much about how to make money or real estate or investments or really how to do much besides what I went to college for. So I think that you and I both understand how powerful and impactful real estate can be on your life and your finances. But we were in an environment perhaps that may be culture that my parents were investors. So I understood that. But I think that most people don't understand that to the same degree. But Generation Z has the internet so that they're able to access people like the Grant Cardones of the world, that will teach them these investment strategies or ways to make money or move your money that I think we just didn't have access to.
Yeah, I also think that on some level they got, I don't want to say lucky, but it was good timing, right? So they were, we as millennials experienced the recession, which kind of spooked us. They came into a really good economy graduating college with good paying jobs. By the time they're 25, they're already a few years in. So they had their student loans under control. They're making good money because, like you said, there's tons of good information out there, right? So when you go into a good economy plus low interest rates, it just makes sense to buy. And because they're working remotely, they can live anywhere, right? And keep those higher paying jobs. So I guess the question I have is, now that interest rates are higher, are they still going to be leading the way in terms of home buying? Because I'm also curious because I know I've had clients where parents have actually helped with the down payment, right? Millennials may not have had that because our parents did have to go through that recession. So I wonder if that's also going to slow down. What are some of your thoughts?
I think there's a lot of truth to that. Yeah. So I graduated high school in 2009 and I graduated college in 2013. So the idea of that time, my parents being able to help me out would be a dubious idea, right? They could barely help me out with college, let alone, buying a house or anything like that. Versus now, it's where and I mean, you could argue we're now in a recession, but in 2020, 2021, 2022, like there was so much just money moving around. So obviously that's how wealth is made, is money just changing hands. So I think there's a lot of truth to that. I also wonder too, I wonder, and I don't know what these numbers are. It seems like college admission is just going down, 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 down.
Mm-hmm.
And these Gen Zers have more ways to make money. They're able to be more remote, be able to be more flexible. So I wonder if there's any mix between their income going up and their debt going down as well.
That's super interesting. There is a website that I just came across. I'll see if I can find it and I'll put it in the show notes, where it actually basically tells you what your return on investment is, right? Because part of the issue is, okay, if I want to be a philosophy major coming out of college to teach at a college level, the starting salary is probably going to be similar, and I could be wrong. So if anyone's interested, comment below, tell me if I'm wrong. But this starting salary is probably going to be similar if you went to, let's say, a state school versus a higher level. So like in California, if you go to a Cal State school versus a UC, a University of California, right? UCLA, something like that. And so you're right. Unless you're doing something specific, teaching, whatever, then you may not need to go to college. I liked college, especially for the networking. It was actually the networking that got me down to Los Angeles, that introduced me to the people. A lot of my clientele came from the networking that I wouldn't have had if I had not gone to college. But not everyone's into that because they don't need to for whatever career they have.
That's interesting. I also wonder about the conversations between parents and their children. So again, so my generation, I think our parents told us, go to college, go to college, go to college, right? Because when they were our age, that was how you guaranteed success. So it was go to college, and then you meet someone, and then you get married and you buy a house, and it's kind of like a down the line thing. So the idea of buying a house when you're 25, mid 20s that's not common. The only people that were doing that were ones that were making a lot of money, lawyers, not even doctors, because they wouldn't even be making money, but yeah, lawyers, high level professionals, that kind of thing. But I think the conversations between Gen Z and their parents it's much more of a pursue your passion, what you want to do. There's less of a blueprint now for how life should go, versus what we were taught was like, this is how life is, X, Y, Z, blank, blank, blank. And I think that's obvious in real estate, but it's obvious in just any stats when you look at just the way that younger folks live their lives versus older generations.
Yeah, it's funny. Growing up, my mom's like, college or military, pick one. And I was like, okay. And I wasn't much of a student. I mean, I did well in high school, and I did, average in college, but I only got the degree because I thought that's just what you were supposed to do. But you're right. I mean, taking real estate as an example, it's like you have sites like Bigger Pockets, and there's other podcasts, and I've been blessed to meet very successful people, multimillionaires who never went to college. It's just certain habits, and they're always a student of learning. It just depends on what the formal education is going to be. So kind of bringing it back to the Gen Zs is like, okay, well, is that trend going to continue? Are they going to continue to buy and kind of lead the way, whereas millennials might be a little bit more reserved, especially with these higher interest rates, but the wages haven't necessarily gone up and home prices haven't really gone down?
Yeah, it's interesting. I can speak deeply from the investment perspective, that I think that it'll continue to lead the way, because some of the things that I mentioned, I constantly will have young individuals reaching out to me to help them build their investment portfolio. And it's so exciting because when I started buying properties in my mid-20s, it was like I was young to be doing that, right? None of the other people in my sort of cohort started doing that. But I, again, came from investor parents, right? But I talk to a lot of individuals that want to buy houses that are young, that are 21, 22, and they might not be ready at this time, but they plan to get ready, and they're at least consulting a professional to figure out how to get there. So I think, again, it goes back to understanding how powerful real estate is, and people have access to figuring that out. I brought up Grant Cardone, but he doesn't even tell you to buy a house, so disregard that. But other will tell you about it. But yeah, I see it continuing to grow. Certain things, I know that the large majority of the crypto wealth that was made in that last bull run was very much a Gen Z. That wasn't your parents,
right,
making thousands on Solana. Like that was that was Arceus or some cool Gen Z name, like in his bedroom buying that, right? So there's a lot more wealth in that way. So I think it'll continue. As I personally am not that. I don't think this recession is going to be that crazy. I think that there's still going to be plenty of money changing hands. So I think that those young individuals with that access to these new emerging ways to make money are going to allocate them towards real estate.
Yeah. And I think that also, I know with millennials, there's been a lot of reports that came out that people like us are actually becoming more about experiences rather than material. And my guess is that's actually transferring down to the Generation Z. So to your point, they may be looking to buy, house hack, whatever, because they know that it's good to own, right? I mean, I think the majority of Americans know, even though there was a slight decline in a recent survey that says it's the best investment. But regardless, if they want to travel, if they want to do these things, they know they need to mitigate their costs, right? They need to keep their costs low in order to travel, to pursue their passions. So what better way to do it than house hacking, things like that? I have people talking to me about real estate investing. I'm like, yeah, I just bought, in Nashville. I bought in another market. I'm looking to buy more, all this stuff. And people are like, don't you want to take a break? And I'm like, no, I don't want to take a break. Because I got to do it now to make the money now so I can go do fun stuff later. So,
Mm.
but with these higher interest rates, I think that Gen Z is going to have to get more creative, right, in how they buy. Because again, these interest rates were in the 2s and 3s. When a lot of them bought last year, it's effectively free money. Now it's going to be average money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's still going to be the big guys, the big companies, the institutional ones that are still buying. But yeah, the rest of the economy, what is that going to look like? Yeah, I think it will continue to go up, but I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that millennials compared to Gen Zs maybe aren't. Millennials are maybe a little bit more long-sighted than Generation Z might be in some ways. And I
Sure.
just think about the TikTok, right? I mean, our attention spans are just shot, right? You watch someone on TikTok, if that video doesn't capture their attention in like 1 second, then it's on the next one.
Right.
It's like, hey, my name is Nick, and it's like, I don't care. Right?
It's like, why
on to
even
the
say
next.
our names? Like, nobody cares.
Yeah, I don't care.
Let's get to the good stuff.
What do so yeah, I wonder about that when things are more difficult, because you and I both know in this market you can make money with these interest make money, but it's harder to make money.
Right.
I heard someone once interest rates started going up said a lot of people that thought they were geniuses will figure out that it's just low interest rates.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. So if this trend didn't continue at these high interest rates, I wouldn't be surprised, just because it's a little bit more difficult. And Gen Z might be more like, well, on to the next one. I'll go here and then maybe.
So you're thinking that it might literally buying was almost like a trend. Like for them, they're like, okay, well, if I can't make money quickly, if I can't get it quickly, then I'm going to go move on to the next investment, which for all we know could be art at this point.
It could be, yeah. Again, if it continued, if it went down, I wouldn't go. Oh, I would be like, okay, I could see how factors would be at play. But if I were a betting man, which I haven't been since I lost $500 on the Patriots Eagles Super Bowl, but if I was a betting man, I would bet.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. I think it's, and we do meet a lot of people where they're like, hey, I want to buy and move in a year. And it's like, and rent it out. I'm like, well, you're putting less than 20% down. The numbers don't really work. You're trying to bank on appreciation. But if we see a slowdown, that may not work. So people kind of want to move quickly. So, I mean, what I've always told people is, especially in the Los Angeles market, which to be honest, is starting to probably become kind of like Nashville with the prices being higher, is deals aren't found, they're made. You have to figure out how to make this a good deal, right? So whether it's better financing, whether it's adding value, right? Like on my house, we converted the garage into an ADU, things like that, which I think that, again, with TikTok and Instagram and all these other resources, Gen Zs will figure it out. They don't have a problem with it. Like, you mentioned a couple of years ago, I had two clients. They were in their early 20s, and they're like, hey, we really want to buy something. We found you in the book, because I'm quoted in the house hacking strategy from Bigger Pockets. And like, are you okay with our age? I'm like, of course I don't care what your age is. I'm like, are you
Mhm.
pre-approved? Now we're listing it. Now it's for sale a couple years later. So, and they're off doing their thing. They're figuring it out. And so I think that you're right. I think a lot of Gen Zs will either figure it out or they're going to move on to whatever's next, which can be a little concerning, don't you think? That if they, because we know that real estate's a long-term game. So if they try to jump on the bandwagon for something else, when real estate was probably a safer bet.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the jumping on and then jumping off, I think, is a dangerous game to play. I generally tell my clients, unless they're flippers,
Mm-hmm.
that you shouldn't be buying a home unless for at least 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
if not if not 10, right? So I could see that, but I do agree it's the figuring it out. I think in today's age and in this market, it's not who has the most experience, it's who can be creative to get things done. Like, yeah, I love that deals aren't found, they're made. Because even, it's been a rough market for many people ever
Mm-hmm.
since like September, I'd say. Really, in Nashville, it was like June 2nd that the market turned. People just figure it out for a couple months.
Yeah.
But the people that were in it were like, oh, that property sat on the market all weekend and had one showing and no offers. And we were like, like it's happening, right? But it was a difficult market, but I was still staying very consistent, closing like 2, 3 deals a month. And it was exactly that. It was looking at the deals on the market and not just coming at it with okay, here's what they're offering. Interest rates are this is going to be where you get stuck. It was a lot of conversations and kind of heart to hearts, especially I worked mostly on the buy side, heart to hearts with the listing agent. Like, listen, like we can get this deal done. We're just gonna have to see where this is, right? Like we might be able to get them what they want in price, but we're not going to be able to do that without getting concessions,
Mm-hmm.
right? So then it's okay. Well, we still got wanted for the house, but we are doing concessions. That's a very common thing, and it was using those concessions to either keep money in the bank for a refinance down the line, or it was using that to pay down your points, doing a 2-1 buy down, that kind of thing. But it was approaching it like, okay, we can't come straight forward on this. We have to, let's wiggle this. Let's see how we can get it done. And those are the only deals that I did that actually came to fruition and made sense.
No, that's a good point. I think that I don't know if you're noticing, but I'm noticing anecdotally that a lot of agents are actually dropping out of the game. They're just
Mhm.
leaving the market because they don't know how to get that kind of creativity. They don't know how to have those conversations with their clients to set expectations. Like I mean, when you do this long enough, you tend to have these conversations with people, and within the first 5 minutes, it's kind of like a date, if these clients are realistic or not. And it's not to say that you're going to start brushing them off because they're not being realistic. It's just here's direct, here's what you're going to have to expect. If you want to buy, now's the time to do it. And here's how you're going to get it done. Or if not, then let's have a conversation later on. But
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed
Yeah.
that I've had to change my attitude over the last like 2 to 3 years with clients. And I used to be able to kind of like beat around the bush, so to speak. And now it's like, nope, you got to be direct. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry if you think I'm an ass, but here's how it's really going to be,
Mm.
because this is
See,
just how the market is.
I never had that because I'm just kind of that way by nature.
Right.
Like, grew up in Boston, played rugby. My dad used to call me the bull in the china shop. Like, I'm very, so I've never had that problem. My problem has been like how to not seem like a total jerk.
It's like the
But
opposite. It's
yeah,
about it
like,
is, but
all
you're
right,
right. It is a balancing
like,
act. But even with Gen Zers,
yeah.
some of them, they're gonna have to have these conversations if they really want to buy, especially in these higher price markets, whether it's San Francisco, New York, LA. I would argue Nashville's getting up there, almost like mid-tier, right? When you compare it to the Alabamas of the world, you know. So,
Mhm.
but we're also seeing a lot of them move to these more affordable markets, which Nashville would be affordable in comparison to the LAs, New York, San Francisco's. Plus, those types of major cities have their own set of problems, homelessness, things like that. And some people are just kind of over it. So,
Yeah, I mean, on the West Coast, yeah, everyone knows huge homeless problem out there. Yeah, one thing that I wonder too is with how willing and able the younger generation is to just pack up and leave.
Mm-hmm.
So when I graduated college in 2013, I was home for like 2 months, and I looked around. I was like, screw this, I'm out. And I just told all my friends and family, I was like, hey, I'm moving to San Diego in like 3 months. And like, it was like, they're like, do you have a job? No. Do you know anyone? No. Like, it was a big thing back then.
Yeah.
Like, but completely normal. I mean, what's it, 10 years later for people to just like get out of college, move across the country? I mean, completely normal, right? So I think a lot of people have connections across the country. Like
Mm-hmm.
all like most of my best friends don't live in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I wonder if that trend is true for Gen Z as well, if they're moving to the smaller cities, because they're like, well, I do have my wolf pack, they're just spread across the country. This is a great place to start. Maybe I'll move to a big city down the line, but instead of a San Francisco, maybe they're looking at a Sacramento.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of a Nashville, maybe they're looking at a Knoxville, right? I wonder about those smaller cities. The people that I talk to, even people that might move around, again, as long as the deal makes sense, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
keep that rental, and I know a lot of people just want investment properties throughout the country. So it's an interesting world to
Mm-hmm.
to deal.
No, for sure, for sure. All right. Well, thank you so much for this, Jake. Was there any closing comments you had about the topic?
No, that was really it. I'm excited for it.
Yeah,
I
me too.
Jen's bought it back. I like those guys. I think they're fun. I think they're creative. I want them on my team. I want them teaching me. And yeah, I'm excited to continue helping them because real estate is something obviously I'm super passionate about.
Great. And Jake, how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram. It's my main platform, Jake Gomes Official. You can also shoot me an email at jgomes@kw.com. It's probably the two big platforms, or one platform, one email that you can find me on.
Great. And then for anyone, in case you are concerned that there might be fake accounts, you actually have the official blue check.
I do, and do paid for it. That I will not tell you for it, or if I'm just super official and famous and popular and cool. It's
Right.
one or the other. Who's I don't know.
All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, later, Rick.